Welcome to a brand new episode of the Jampack Report today for September the 10th of 2020. Of course, my name is Samuel Adams, and this is a daily gaming news podcast meant to bring you the hottest news you need to know from around the industry. Hosted on YouTube and podcast services around the world 5 days a week, it is your one-stop shop for everything you need to know. And today we got a lot of Ubisoft news coming out of today's Forward event, which included Immortals Fenyx Rising, Prince of Persia, Scott Pilgrim, and so much more. But before we dive into the gaming-related news, the company is finally owning up to its problems with diversity, inclusion, racism, and sexual misconduct, with Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot finally making a statement addressing all of the reports that have come out over the past few months. He says, quote, "We are at the start of a long journey, and real change will take time." The company also announced 2 new programs designed to increase mentorship opportunities for women and individuals from underrepresented groups. Ubisoft said on Twitter that Guillemot's message was not included in the main event due to timing constraints, but it noted that it would be added to the video when it's posted for on-demand viewing. Now, this was very unfortunate because the video could not be played alongside the actual live-streamed event itself. The constraints of that still baffle me. I'm not entirely sure that I do buy that excuse, but at the same time, it still is nice to see that they are owning up to the fact that improvements need to be made. And for those that are just getting tuned into what's happening behind the scenes at Ubisoft, they have been cleaning house. A lot of people have either resigned, on top of that, new faces are coming in, but even Yves Guillemot hooking his family up with jobs has been in the news. It's not a pretty situation right now, and there is a lot of improvement that needs to be made still behind the scenes of one of the biggest names in video games. So hopefully this is a step in the right direction and not just another PR move, but it was good to see that the company was not just ignoring the fact that there were issues that needed to be addressed. But diving into the gaming news that we saw today, Immortals Fenyx Rising has gotten a Breath of the Wild-esque gameplay reveal. Ubisoft finally revealed more information on the upcoming Immortals Fenyx Rising, previously known as Gods and Monsters, showing off the Greek mythology-inspired world and the gameplay that looks heavily inspired by Nintendo's The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. It will be out on December the 3rd for Switch, Xbox One, PS4, PC, and Stadia, and of course, The Verge has hands-on impressions if you do want some of that hot impression content, but there is over 30 minutes of gameplay out there for you to enjoy. On top of that, Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time is getting a modern remake. The 2003 classic is getting a new coat of paint in 2021 for the Xbox One, PS4, and PC. Ubisoft says that it's been rebuilt from the ground up in its modern Anvil engine, and that the remake will feature improved combat and camera controls. It's launching on January the 21st. This is a classic for a lot of people, and I do think that there was a level of expectation because of the leaks that had been making their way onto the internet, but the game itself looks relatively run-of-the-mill, if not slightly subpar in terms of its actual aesthetics. It looks like it's going to be fine. And as time goes on, we'll get more gameplay and we'll be able to see more of what this does have to offer, but this is clearly something that was made on a budget meant for a nostalgia-packed adventure. It is going to run you $40, not a full-priced title, which is a good thing, because again, it looks like it's well on its way to being fantastic, but not quite there in my book. That's not to say it looks bad. But again, as somebody who is not deeply into Prince of Persia, this one is going to be a hard sell for me. Still looks like a fun time though, so we'll see how this one works out when it launches early next year. Riders Republic turns extreme sports into a massive multiplayer online game. Ubisoft is taking extreme sports to an even bigger online audience with Riders Republic, a massive multiplayer game from the creators of Steep, focused on all kinds of adrenaline-pumping activities, including biking, wingsuiting, skiing, snowboarding, and more. The company promises huge maps based on actual GPS data from U.S. national parks and the ability to race against 50 opponents at once. It will launch on February 25th, 2021 for current-gen and next-gen hardware, as well as Google Stadia and PC. Now this one looks very interesting. Take the concept of Descenders and essentially apply that to the world of Steep And on top of that, take the world of Steep and apply that to biking and wingsuiting and so much more. This is the extreme sporting battle royale that you didn't know you needed until today. And as somebody who likes the Battle Royale Fall Guys style kind of gameplay, where it is down to the wire, you kind of have to compete head to head, I love that element, and I think that this certainly does lend itself to that. If you like downhill adventures, this is going to be right up your alley, and of course, Steep was a huge success in terms of snowboarding games. It is phenomenal. Big fan of it. And so Riders Republic is launching next February across all platforms, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that one goes. Now, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game is coming back after years of people begging the creator to make it happen. The adaptation... Adaption? I don't know. I don't think that's the right word. I think that's adaptation. The adaptation of Brian Lee O'Malley's iconic comic book series is returning a decade after its release and still unexplained removal from various digital storefronts. It will be out this holiday season for Switch, Xbox One, PS4, PC, and Stadia, and it will include bonus Knives, Chow, and Wallace Wells characters, add-ons, and the return of the extremely good chiptune soundtrack from Anambana Gucci. And so, this is a fan favorite again coming back for round 2. This is the complete edition if you did want to dive back into the world of Scott Pilgrim. Now, this was a very popular movie that was then made into a game that remained incredibly popular, and it was one of the few video game movies that was actually successful that I remember when I was growing up. Because keep in mind, this came out when I was 13, so again, a very different kind of approach here. But if you are into this kind of arcade-style combat, then you are certainly going to be digging back into Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game, when it launches later this holiday, of course on current-gen hardware as well as PC. You better go get the girl because that's essentially what the entire game is about. Now moving on, Rainbow Six Siege is coming to next-gen consoles this year, and it is targeting up to 4K and 120 FPS by the end of the year, with a free next-gen upgrade coming for existing PS4 and Xbox One owners. The company also announced a new country-based Rainbow Six Siege World Cup competition and a new season of content based around Splinter Cell's Sam Fisher. Of course, they have an entire animated trailer, Call Me Zero, out now if you do want to see what Sam Fisher has cooking. But of course, the Splinter Cell star is going to be making his way into the game itself, and this game just continues to go and go and go. And the free upgrade is a fantastic move. Up to 120 FPS and a 4K resolution is pretty much setting Rainbow Six Siege up to continue its success for the next few years at least. And again, as more content gets added to the game, the lifespan continues to expound. Very impressive to see what they have done with Rainbow Six Siege, which remains one of the best competitive shooters in today's day and age, in my humble opinion. Now, Watch Dogs Legion is going to be getting some more content as well. It will feature a special Stormzy and Aiden Pierce mission. The upcoming Watch Dogs Legion is getting a cameo appearance by popular London rapper Stormzy, who will be featured in the game with a special Fall on My Enemies mission out on October 29th. Additionally, Aiden Pierce, the bland cap-wearing hero of the first Watch Dogs, is set to return to the franchise as a playable character in an upcoming DLC expansion. So if you're looking forward to Watch Dogs Legion, there is some detail on some post-launch content for you. Of course, I'm not a big rap fan and I am not from London, but of course the game itself is set in London, so it seems pretty relevant they would get one of the biggest rappers in the game from that part of the world to be involved. Now, the Aiden Pierce mission, that certainly does get me going a little bit just because of the significance of the original Watch Dogs, and he was never really a protagonist that got the recognition he deserved. And so to be able to see him coming back in Legion is something that I do welcome. Still on the fence about this one, but considering that it's probably going to be coming with most 3080 GPUs and I'm going to be upgrading to one of those, I'll probably end up playing it at some point or another on PC. And finally, to round out the highlights, Hyperscape is getting a limited time turbo mode. Ubisoft is taking a page from Fortnite's book with a new limited-time turbo mode in its Hyperscape Battle Royale, which, similar to Epic's Solid Gold mode, puts players in a fast-paced game where all weapons are the maximum rarity, and it launches on September the 15th. And so those are the highlights from today's show. Of course, if you do want to go back and check out all of the biggest news, you can certainly do so via the official YouTube channel, and there are plenty of recaps as well. But overall, how would I rate this event? a solid 6 or a 7, I think. There were a lot of announcements that came out, including some Immortals Fenyx Rising gameplay, which I personally have been looking forward to, and then Prince of Persia Sands of Time getting a remake is a pretty big deal, although it might not have gotten the reception that people really expected it to get. Out of everything, though, all of the announcements that have come out, I think the most significant game-related announcement from today's show was that Immortals Fenyx Rising gameplay. That looks fantastic. It really does blend Breath of the Wild, and it combines that with elements of Greek mythology in a way that no game really has before. It's kind of taking the best parts of Assassin's Creed Odyssey and combining that directly with Breath of the Wild, and I am certainly into that. So again, if you do want to re-watch the entire event, it's out now on YouTube, and you can see Yves Guillemot's big statement regarding all of the new discoveries that have been coming out about Ubisoft mishandling and problems with diversity, inclusion, racism, and sexual misconduct, but ultimately, a pretty solid showing, and at least they're owning up to the mistakes that they have made in the past. Now, we now have a closer look at the Xbox Series X and Series S official mock-ups, so here's a closer look and size comparisons. Now, we could read through all of this, but ultimately these are fake consoles that are just meant to replicate the size of the actual consoles themselves, and the embargo broke today, so here you have it. This is how the newest generation of Xbox consoles stacks up against some of this generation's leading machines. Now, of course, here is the comparison between the Xbox Series S and the Series X itself. You can see it is quite a bit smaller, and it does add about an inch to one of the ends, but Microsoft states that it's 60% smaller than the Series X, and that much is true. Of course, you can see the features here, the inputs that each will have, and compared to the PS4 Pro and the Nintendo Switch and the Xbox One X, here is what you have. So the Xbox One X, significantly thicker. This is an obelisk of a machine. On top of that, comparing it to the PlayStation 4 Pro when it comes to the Xbox Series S, that looks like it's much more reasonable. Now, if you compare all of these machines, you can see the comparison with the Nintendo Switch. Ultimately, it is kind of what we expected. The Series X is just an absolutely massive machine. You can see it compared to the Xbox One X here, and then you can see the One S's small footprint, or the One X's bigger footprint as compared to the Series S's smaller footprint. And ultimately, it comes down to the fact that we now know exactly how big these machines are going to be, and the Series S is one of the smallest consoles I've ever seen, but man does it pack a punch. And of course, if you want to learn more about all of the biggest console announcements this week, we have two shows, including one for the Series X and one for the Series S. Each got their price announcement this week, and both are a very good deal this holiday season. If you are going to be subscribing to Game Pass, you are not going to miss if you do pick one of these new next generation consoles. But ultimately, these are out there in the wild right now, and you are going to be seeing them on store shelves on November the 10th, alongside a slew of this season's biggest games. And when you do pick up your new Xbox Series X console, this is what the packaging will look like. While Microsoft finally revealed pricing and release dates for its two upcoming next-gen consoles, the Xbox Series X and the Series S, we did not yet see retail packaging. That has changed thanks to a listing on Canadian retailer The Source, which shows us the box that the Series X will be packaged in. The internal 1TB SSD is boldly displayed on the box, a useful thing to put forward considering the SSD in the Xbox Series S is identical but only 512GB. Both consoles support the expansion cards Microsoft has developed in partnership with Seagate, and we talked about that more on yesterday's show. But ultimately, this is exactly the kind of box art that many people would expect, and it does highlight the green accent that you see at the top of the Xbox Series X and its vent. Beautiful console, love this piece of hardware, but I will say it is a bit of a bummer to hear that the bottom Lazy Susan style piece of plastic that is attached is not going to be detachable, which means you're probably going to want to display this in a vertical format, which has been pitched from the beginning, admittedly. So if you do want to dive into the Xbox ecosystem this holiday season, you can now see just how big this thing is going to be if you are trying to fit it into your gaming cabinet. On top of that, this is the box you are going to be getting when you pick it up on November the 10th if you do go with the Series X, while the Series S packaging has not yet been revealed. But to round out today's show, Ninja has returned to Twitch on a multi-year exclusive deal, and he is back where he made his name after leaving for Mixer last year. Tyler Ninja Blevins is back on Twitch. He has signed a multi-year contract with the platform where he made his name, and his first stream under the deal starts at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Quote, "I am excited to get back into streaming full-time and connecting with my loyal fan base," Ninja said in a statement. "I really took my time to decide which platform was best, and Twitch has been supportive throughout this process in understanding my overall career goals. In this next chapter, I'm going to make it a point to elevate and bring more eyes to underrepresented creators. I'm looking forward to working with Twitch to demonstrate how this amazing community of gamers can make a meaningful impact." End quote. Ninja started streaming on Twitch a decade ago and built a huge community there, but he left in August 2019 to stream on Mixer. Despite Microsoft landing him and other top streamers on exclusive contracts, it could not keep pace with Twitch, Facebook Gaming, and YouTube Gaming. It shut down Mixer in July. After he became a free agent, Ninja streamed a few times on Twitch and YouTube while figuring out his next move. There is no denying Ninja's star power. He has 15 million Twitch followers and 24 million YouTube subscribers. Blevins was the first gamer to get his own skin in Fortnite, the game he is best known for playing, and he will soon have one in Fall Guys. His return to Twitch is a big deal, and it's likely to help the streaming service stay well ahead of its rivals. Ninja's move last year kickstarted a battle between streaming services for top talent, with some staying put on Twitch, Facebook Gaming, Mixer, or YouTube Gaming, and others moving elsewhere. Michael Shroud-Greshik, another high-profile streamer who decamped to Mixer last year, returned to Twitch on his own exclusive deal last month, as did Soliel FaZe Ewok Wheeler. "We are thrilled Ninja is returning to Twitch," said Michael Aragon, Twitch's Senior Vice President of Content. And of course, Tyler is an iconic force in the gaming industry, and it's been amazing to see the impact he has made on the industry and broader culture. Gaming and the people who love it are being recognized by a broader mainstream audience, now in part because of Tyler, and we know he is just getting started. So welcome back, Ninja. Twitch is back, groveling for you to come back because, man, you just are the name that won't stop, my dude. But no, sincerely, it is good to see Ninja finally select a place to stream. Of course, Dr. Disrespect moved over to YouTube after being banned on Twitch. On top of that, Shroud moved to Mixer, then came back to Twitch. King Gathalion left Mixer, went to Facebook Gaming. There are so many moves going on, but out of all of them, Ninja is the biggest. When you see action figures in Target based off of a streamer, you know he's a big deal. So this is a very big move, and of course, if you do want to check him out, it is twitch.tv/ninja. But that rounds out today's episode of the Jampack Report. If you enjoyed today's show, drop me a like down below and let me know what you think about everything we talked about here today. I would love to hear your thoughts. But until tomorrow, you guys have a fantastic rest of your night. I'll talk to you soon, and peace.